Okay, so now we're going on to the third video of the day. As I'm converting over that one, which is the second video. Whoop-de-doo. I'm pretty sure. I'm losing count here. I'm trying to close off these things. But before I close off, I'm just checking over a few more pages just to see maybe I can snag into something that might be useful. And I came across this, so I'm going to download it. And what it is it's 2023. Where's my finger? There it is. Okay, Surrey LIP is it's a program for immigrants, right? Housing. Okay, final. I don't know. Anyway, I'm reading here. I thought I'd read it to you. Right here. It's really hard for me to see it, but besides that point, I'm gonna have to get some ink and paper, people. I'm just gonna have to. This shit's not funny what my landlords and their family is doing. But when you read stuff like this and you know what's going on in regards to politics, it makes sense for them because they want their $5,000 a month. Why go to pick up $2,250 when you can get $5,000 month after month after month and not be responsible for your yard or any outside maintenance when it comes to gutters and fixing stairs and porches and greenhouses, sheds, that kind of crap, right? Because it's going to be hard for me to fix the greenhouse now unless I go and grab a piece of wood from the fucking bin and bring it into my house like I did with that little mountain. And trust me, I am seriously thinking about doing that. And that's sick when I have to bring in wood, plywood, into my house so I have something to fix my greenhouse and the porch with. Otherwise, I'm looking at buying it. Because if I don't fix it, it won't get fixed. And then they're going to use it against me and use that as an excuse to kick me out so that they can accommodate the City of Surrey, the provincial government of British Columbia, Canada, as they bring in more immigrants at the direction of, I suppose, the federal government. But I'm going to read this, and then I'm just going to, like I said, I'm just gathering up a few things that I'm going to print out. Because this is important. This is exactly why my family has been gang stalked. This is exactly why my family has been targeted for death and illegal organ harvesting. And this is exactly why my remaining family is being targeted for death and illegal harvesting, illegal organ harvesting. You can tell I'm getting tired. It's only going to lead to death for me, quite possibly Amari, if he doesn't die before she kicks me out. It's going to be very hard on him after she kicks me out because we're already in a danger zone with him. Because she had me working in the yard and I was giving him those drinks and he wasn't putting on the weight. And by the time I fucking figured it out, as they were telling me to give him more drinks, as his intestines were ready to explode because of those drinks, because I was working in the yard. For how many years? I've had Amari now. He's 7. I've had him since he's been 7 months old. And pretty much from the get-go, they had me start putting them on those drinks. So yeah, give Amari a drink. Nana's working in the yard. I can't come inside. I'm fucking filthy. I'm filthy with the landlord's grit and grime and mud and raccoon shit. Not to mention morning glory algae and sludge. with my shit getting ruined year after year, with me washing with bleach as I'm going blinder and blinder and blinder. Anyway, I'm not reading it all. I'm just skimming to see if I want to save it, and then I have to order ink. My credit cards are maxed out. I wanted to pay down my bills a little bit, right? But I can't, because all my money's going to Mrs. Gill now for water, frozen water, and wood that I need. I'm paying to have it removed off the property, though, so they can set me up for failure. So they can hurt me. So they can evict me. Throw my ass out on the street. And then say I did it to myself and I deserved it. And when I die, they'll say, finally, good riddance. One less piece of trash on the street. Okay, let's start here. Housing is scarce for everyone. Well, I thought I earned my right to stay here. That's why I put so many years into the yard. That's why I gave up my sewing. That's why I didn't make it to the doctor in time, because I was in the yard. That's why I relied on those supplemental drinks to provide nutrients to my grandson, because I was working in the yard. And those women that were telling me to give it to him forgot to tell me that if I gave him too many, he wouldn't eat. So I guess I just took it for fucking granted, because I was expected to work in the yard, and I was grateful at least he was sucking on those bottles when I should have been feeding him food. Like I am now. And now that I'm actually feeding him food, what are my landlords trying to do? Kick us all out. So they can make maximum $5,000 a month as they're plotting and scheming how to kick out those tenants after the fact, when they're ready to tear down the house. And then call that good business. So they can go fly off to their fucking Vasaki parade. In China. Because that's where everybody's gathering now. The next time they have one. Or are you going to come back to Surrey and go down King George all the way up and down, have everybody across the world fly to fucking Surrey? Yeah, right. Anyway, housing is scarce for everyone. This is the case throughout Greater Vancouver. This was done in 2023 after they brought in hundreds of thousands of immigrants into the province over a period of less than 10 years with no housing outside of what they could steal from the Canadian people that were renting the available housing before the immigrants moved in. En masse. But it is particularly acute in Surrey. The city's population has been growing rapidly only because of immigrants, not because of birth rate. I already mentioned that in one of my videos as to it's the immigrants that are increasing the population, but not the birth rate. 23,000 immigrants came in 1 year. I'm wondering if my son was talking about 23,000 immigrants moved into Surrey within 1 year, but there were only 1,000 live births. No. There was 23,000 individuals increased the population number within I don't know if it was must have been within a year. So, but 1,000 of them were live births, where the other 22,000 were immigrants. I could see that for Surrey, not for the whole province. There was more than 23,000 people. No, 22,000. There was more than 22,000 immigrants that came to British Columbia. And I don't know when that statistic was calculated, but okay, so besides that point. All right, I'm getting really tired here. It gets draining, okay? Especially when you struggle with your eyes. But that's the game, eh? Right? Make you weak. Right? Keep that cortisol going in your head. Right? Scare you, frighten you, threaten you. Right? This is the case throughout Greater Vancouver, but it is particularly acute in Surrey. The city's population has been growing rapidly, and housing starts have not kept up. Well, that was already stated in 2018 with what? 0.04 of only available housing in 2018 after they brought in, I'm sorry, it wasn't 16,000 Syrians, it was 10,000 Syrians in one pop in 2016. And that's what we know of just with the Syrians. In other words, there was a whole lot more immigrants than just Syrians coming to Surrey in 2016, okay? And by 2018, they had a 0.04 available rental market when it came to, renting apartments or whatever. Only 0.04 in 2018 because of the number of immigrants that they had already started to bring in 2016, not to mention what's been happening long before that, especially with the Punjabis. For Surrey, that is. Okay. In 2021, Mandarins and Chinese, they prefer Richmond, right? Where in Surrey, the Punjabis prefer it out here. All right. In 2021, the City of Surrey's Housing Needs Report. See, that's a different report. This is where it gets expensive. But this is where it all just becomes rhetoric. Estimated an immediate need for, and this is why the City of Surrey, in partnership with my landlord, is doing what they're doing, is immediate need for 17,900 affordable rental housing units. In addition, over the next 10 years, Surrey will require 18,600 new home ownership units and 22,600 new rental units. Surrey's housing shortage has been several years in the making. Between, there we go, 2016 when they started bringing in large amounts of Syrians and God knows who else, and 2021, all related to immigrants. There were 457 housing starts per 1,000 population growth, compared to 703 in Greater Vancouver and 567 in Canada as a whole. And of course, they're the victims, not my family. We're the commodity. My family is the commodity to rape and pillage and harvest and destroy, however means you do it, where the immigrants are the victims and need to be propped up and catered to. Immigrants are particularly affected. Between 2016 and 2021, the immigrant population in Surrey increased by 14%, according for almost half, accounting for almost half of the city's population growth. Furthermore, immigrants, and especially new immigrants, well, I didn't know they had old immigrants coming to Canada. I thought once you got here, became an immigrant, you kind of stayed that way until you settled in, right? Race, numerous specific issues when trying to rent or buy a home. No, they have their little programs through LIP where they connect with PICS or all these other nonprofit groups, right, that work in partnership with the city to find housing for them. And then they overinflate the housing market to get landlords addicted to money for that, greed, the love of money. Why get $22.50 when you can get $5,000? All you have to do is kick the bitch out, right? All you have to do is gang stalk her enough, build a case, set her up to fail, right? Make it so that she's definitely going to fail, and stick it to her good. Kick her ass out. Yeah, so what? Right? They've already, like I said, they've already gotten rid of half of my family people. That was done by design. They wanted that to happen. And they profiteered off it. And now they're going in for the kill. Because they want their $5,000 a month. On top of their $3 million when they sell this house. And when they're done using those tenants, they'll just throw them out too. Unless, of course, they can plug them into some federal program with some other Ponzi scheme where the federal government will help them to buy these fucking things that they're building out here. And call that a home. Just to fill them up. Notably, their incomes are lower. They're lower, but yet they'll put a Syrian family on the upper floor, 5 kids, 2 adults, and make them pay $2,500 with the UN soldiers in the basement paying $2,500. That's how they will get their $5,000. And if they think they can charge $3,000 for upstairs because of the amenities in the yard, they'll do that too. Notably, their income are lower. Census 2021 shows that in Surrey, the average income was $35,600 for recent immigrants, and $37,200 for immigrants, compared to $42,000 for Canadian-born residents. Well, I know the Syrians weren't allowed to do nothing for a full year, but yet they can go on long-term disability, drive mopeds, and sell heroin in the neighborhood when it comes to a relative that already immigrated here. So nobody was working. But they got a house, real fast. With rapid population growth, immigrants and refugees are acutely affected by the housing shortage in Surrey and the greater Vancouver area. I don't think so, because they're not targeted for murder so that their body parts could be harvested, so the people who are building these buildings can take that money and launder it into these buildings as a cost-saving measure, as they prop up the underground economy with body parts, as they flush out houses and families like mine to fill them up with families like that. Immigrants, because that's the only people who are going to move into this house, will be immigrants of some kind. Immigrants and substandard housing. Well, that's what my landlord is doing. She's pushing me into substandard housing, where I'm probably going to lose my grandkids if they don't die. And if I don't die. She's playing Russian roulette with 3 lives. But does she care? No. All she can think about is going to the bank with $5,000 in her fucking purse. From this house. And that's not including what she gets from her other houses. For all we know, she's rolling up to the fucking bank with 30 fucking grand. An 84-year-old woman riding up to the fucking bank, driving to the fucking bank with 30 fucking grand in her pocket. Depositing rent. From house to house to house. How many houses would you need at $5,000 per house to get 30 grand? 6 houses. That's easy peasy for a Punjabi out here to own 6 houses and snag in $5,000 per house. You do the math on that one. Right? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Oh no. 30. Oh no. She'd need more than that. What am I thinking? 30, 35, 40. 45, 50, she'd need 10 houses. Am I counting that right? 30 grand? Yeah, no, 30 grand, 6 houses. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000. All she needs is 6 houses, break them up into 2 fucking different suites per house. $500 a fucking pop. That's $30,000 that she collects on rent day, and she deposits it into her fucking bank account. As she's tossing my family out onto the streets. And then blaming us because we died. Okay, so no regrets with the food prep, people. Because I think I'm going to be living off of this shit. In terms of feeding my remaining family. What I have in the house. Because I'm not going to be able to afford groceries. That $300 that I gave my landlord was my groceries. And even then, it should have went on my credit card. Okay? And I'm like, as sick as it sounds, and it sounds really sick, like I am so close to going out in the morning into that bin when my son is working. Brushing off the snow or the water or whatever, because who knows, maybe it could melt, maybe it would be still, I don't know. And moving that wood around. And trying to find at least a couple pieces of fucking plywood that I can bring into through my front door and leave it in my fucking hall. 2 sheets. And when my son sees it, he'll be so livid. I'll be like, what do you care? It's inside the house. It's not outside. I need it. You're not going to drive me to Home Depot to go buy a piece of plywood so I can fix the fucking porch. I'll show you where it needs to be fixed, people. I need wood for it, people. I will fucking show you where it needs to be fixed, people. And the greenhouse. And there's other things I need to fix with that plywood. But I can't fix it all because I just can't bring a bunch of wood in my house. But I might be able to bring in 2 pieces. I can't hide it anywhere in the yard. He'll just drag it out and fucking yell at me and call me this and call me that and tell me I'm wasting his time by working against him because this is what they want. If it's not the city telling him to do it to get rid of the weather-worn wood, it's my landlord. And he left that there, people. He wanted to leave that little bit because he knows there's things here that need to be done. And that shit was dry. And for the things that you would be using it for, that's all you need. And now I'm, like, seriously thinking about bringing it in. Because I'm fucking petrified with what these people are... Don't call them fucking people. They don't act like people. What these individuals are doing. But when you listen to what I'm reading to you as I'm coming across it, you can understand why they're doing it. Why get $22.50 when you can get $5,000? Easy peasy. Maybe even... $5,500 if you wanted to push it for this house. 3 up, 3,000 up, 250, 2,500 down. That's $5,500 fucking dollars to tear down a dump and not fix things. Because you know it's going to be, well, oh yeah, well, she was a terrible tenant, and, you know, and look what she did, and she ruined the porch, and, well, we can't really do much because the city code won't allow us, because that's what they told me. We can't fix the porch. We can't do anything major on it because the city code won't allow us. Yeah, because they're tearing down. Don't you see? They're building. So they're not going to let us do any major repairs. You do it. You fix for yourself. Right? They don't have to worry about electrical outlets because that's all been done. Right? It actually took over a year to do that because I've been watching my old videos. I thought it was done within a couple of months. No. No. I moved in December. I moved the family in December of 2009. And I was crabbing on about electrical outlets still not being fucking done properly in September of 2011, people. I forgot about that. The only reason I remembered is because I listened to it and I'm like, holy shit. Same thing with the freaking pipes. Yeah. So, but they don't have to worry about it because I already went through it with her. Took a long time to get that shit done. All the pipes. And even then, they're gonna blame me for the fucking pipe. They won't tell them that the fucking sink downstairs, like the laundry tub, right, will just all of a sudden, one day, rise and rise and rise and rise, and then spill over and spill out dirty, gross, yucky dishwater, laundry water, all over the fucking floor in the laundry room. Because nobody will know what's coming until it comes. And then she'll be like, oh, well, the previous tenant must have did something. That's all her fault. Well, I'll snake it. Don't worry. And she'll snake it. The new tenants will think everything's fine because they'd be naive. They're dumb. They don't know. They don't know the history on the house. They don't know what I went through, right? And 9 months will go by, 12 months will go by, and it will happen all over again if it's not going to be the garage flooding because of that pipe out in the back. Yeah. And the porch will never get fixed. And if it does, it will be just the plastic part to keep them shut up as the rest of the porch is rotting out. And it's been on its last legs ever since I moved in. But she'll be making her $5,500 a month. She owns this house. She owns another house over there that she used to live in when I first started renting from her. But they had bought property in Little India so they could be closer with their people, I suppose, in a more luxurious neighborhood. So they bought a piece of property that had horses and all that crap, but they started building their monster houses around there. And then they built themselves a brand new monster house for themselves, right? And because they had two properties, that's where Mr. Gill had his chickens. But, you know, because the area was being built up, they had to get rid of the chickens, and the horse next to the chickens in the other property disappeared. And then that's when Mr. Gill came and gave me his chickens. 7 chickens. And then, of course, the city was called on me about that, because I had chickens. Well, whose fault is that? That's the people in the neighborhood throwing out chickens in the middle of winter when it came to Mr. Lace, and my landlord giving me his 7 hens, saying, you look after them. And I got into trouble for it. Yeah. Right? So, you know, so she has the rental property over there. She's got this one. She's got another one off in the boonies somewhere. I think it's just a little rancher with a bunch of bush around it, because she tried to offer me to rent that one at $1,900 a month so I'd move out of here, because she wants this house to make more money, right? And I'm like, no, I can't go out in the bush with the Mari, because an emergency could happen at any moment. And I need to not call 911 and get to the hospital. Plus, I've got the children's hospital. I can't be living it, but you can have a goat. I said, yeah, well, even still, I can't. I can't, Mrs. Gill. I can't live there. So she's, okay, right? So she's got that one. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then when she tried to cause trouble again, threatening to kick us out or something over the city again, or something was going on. It was a big fucking kerfuffle. I have it on recording. Right? I don't know where it is. It's somewhere on one of these computers. I never did upload it. But she was talking on about her other house, a different house, where they had a fucking grow-op on it. And they had to spend something like $60,000, so she said, to gut it, which I don't think that's true, people, because I know what they did next door with the crack shack. They never gutted it. They just moved in a vulnerable family into fucking drywall that was saturated with heroin smoke, crack smoke, and methamphetamine throughout the whole house. That was a crack shack for 1.5 years in every single room. Okay? Somebody was smoking something. And they never replaced the drywall. So when she said she spent $60,000 doing all that crap, I don't believe it. It's just a rental. Why would they? They wouldn't. They don't care. And that's why she wouldn't fix anything. But yet she wanted more money and was complaining about this and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I'd have to listen to the recording to remember exactly what was going on. I just know that she was going on about she had to spend $60,000 because somehow it became a fucking shack, and she, you know, the city said no, whatever, and she couldn't do anything for us. But she was causing so much trouble for us because she didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that, and she wanted us to fucking move, and we couldn't move. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 rentals that I'm aware of. Plus the new monster home that they built for themselves, with the gazebo on the second property that they own. Because they make so much money off of rent while they don't fix things in a timely manner. Unless, of course, it's absolutely necessary. And even then, it's a hit and miss. You might be waiting for years for it to be done properly. And you suffer a lot while you wait. Yeah. And they've created a market where they can get $5,000 per house. Up, down, whatever, round, give or take. You know, they're making 20 to 30, 35 grand a month on rent. As people like me are terrorized and suffer. And then are left with nothing, as we're being told that we have to keep up the yard with nothing. With nothing. Because if we don't, we're going to get evicted because they have the city backing them up that I'm a bad tenant. Yeah, okay. All because of a fucking yard. And I'm sitting here at 11:30 at night on February 2nd thinking to go into the bin and try and rescue 2 pieces of plywood, bring it into my fucking house so that I have something to work with when the weather warms up. Otherwise, I have to beg and plead my son to go buy me new plywood and spend $40. And you know he's not going to want to go get it from me, people. Right? So I'm hooped. So that's why I'm thinking just cut to the chase. Make it easy on myself. Just fucking bring it in. And when he says something to me, I'll say, listen, you don't want me talking to you outside because I'm wasting your time. Don't talk to me inside my house because you're wasting my time. You do what you gotta do, and I'm doing what I gotta do because I'm in fucking survival mode here. All right? I'm thinking about what credit card I can rack up to go buy fucking ink and paper to start the nonsense all over again against a corrupt justice system, a corrupt governmental system. Because I know it's coming. Because just by the very way they treat me. Yeah. And you can guarantee somebody's going to die after it's all said and done. Because that's the pattern. Yeah. Okay, maybe I got my numbers wrong. Here's a tidbit. How many pages? 3. That's not so bad. To print out, that is. Okay, so what is this? Focus on refugees. Okay, a focus on refugees. What is it? The Surrey Board of Trade is the co-chair of the Surrey Local Immigrant Partnership, LIP, which is still active since 2016-15, okay? Coalition of local service providers in partnership with the city people, focusing on the needs of new immigrants and refugees. We are the only LIP coalition in BC with business at the table in a leadership capacity. Sorry. Okay? In 2016, City of Surrey said that's when the housing crisis really started in their mind when they were doing their reports, right? In 2016, after much debate, Canada accepted approximately 40,000 Syrian refugees through a mix of public and private sponsorship programs. Surrey, are you listening? Here we go. Surrey became the home to nearly half of those arriving in BC. 44% of 1,700 up to 23% of all refugees combined the previous year. Am I reading this wrong? Is it half of the 40,000 or almost half of the 1,700 up to 23% of all refugees combined the previous year? Approximately 60% are under the age of 18. Immigrant Services Society of BC. Do not include privately sponsored refugees in Surrey. Most of the refugees do not speak English, have varying level of trauma. Not Judy. Judy's never been traumatized in this house. Not once has she ever been traumatized. Right? Losing her daughters to death and murder and illegal organ harvesting wasn't traumatic. Hell no. Having Amari injured at birth wasn't traumatic. Having Andre ripped away the way he wasn't traumatic. Having Uncle John disappear and medically kidnapped and pillaged of his assets and then locked away, that wasn't traumatic. What my landlord does to me over the years hasn't been traumatic. No, hell fuck no. Working in a yard for 14 years like a slave, right, hasn't been traumatic. Only refugees can suffer trauma. I'm just saying. And medical needs. Well, who cares if Judy goes blind? Right? Just keep her in the yard, she won't notice. And I didn't. Until it was too late. And are learning now to adapt to Canada. See, I'm looking where it specifically says that 10,000, because, you know, it might, no, it was in a debate through the Parliament building, like through their readings of their budgets and all that crap, and what they had planned for the year and whatever. That's where they said 10,000 Syrians were going to go to Surrey. And I think even the news reported on it, but I can't seem to find what I'm looking for. Working with the Syrian students, approximately 600 expected to be enrolled by the end of the year. The Surrey Food Bank experienced a jump of requests with Syrian refugees, families signing on. Either or. What's this? These measures, if implemented, will help employment and English language training, essential for economic integration, however, are still federally funded and wait lists are long. BC currently has the highest wait list with over 5,000 permanent residents looking for spaces, the majority in Surrey. Related to refugees. Benefits. I don't know. I don't want to read. The font is so small. But it's only 3 pages. So maybe I should just download it and try and read it another day. But that's not what I'm looking for. because after I read it, it didn't sound right in terms of what I'm looking for. Results from the 2016 census, Syrian refugees who resettled. What's this one? Hold on a minute. Okay, I am looking to see how many Syrian refugees came into Surrey in 2016. It is not 10,000 Syrian individuals moving into Surrey in 2016. The number is skewed. Okay? So, I'm looking, consensus this, consensus that. This here is an organization that reports on this stuff, but anyway, what is it called? Or maybe this is a news article. CBC.ca News. Yeah, no, this is a news article. Okay. 5 maps and charts that show where Syrian refugees have gone in BC. Now, then we have something here. Most have gathered in the Lower Mainland. That could be Vancouver, that could be in Burnaby, that could be in Surrey. Okay, and so on and so on. But several smaller communities have become home to many as well. And then if you notice here, look at this. Because I'm like, when was this written? Like, what time frame, right? Oh my God. Justin Elroy, CBC News, posted December 19th, 2016. Yeah. So this must have been done in 2016. So they started coming in 2015. Yeah. The communities of Queen Charlotte. That's a beautiful island on Hawaii. Brought a 8-blender refugee. Brought in 8 blended refugees. Okay, blended, I'm looking, right? There's 3 different ways I guess they come in. One is government sponsored. The other is privately sponsored. And the third is where it's blended between the 2 sponsors. Right? Brought in 8 blended refugees earlier this year, which makes it the place with the highest percentage of Syrian refugees in BC. That's just because it's a small little island. In the years since Syrian refugees began arriving in BC in large numbers, there have been many stories of communities in BC welcoming them. But what has been the net impact to the province population? So I'm going to read this for a minute, so hold on. Okay, so I'm assuming this article was written in December of 2016. Basically, it's saying that 3,050 Syrian refugees have arrived in British Columbia, right? About 2,150 government-assisted refugees and about 900 sponsored and or blended refugees. So the people next door are the government-sponsored. Right, because they were told by the government they weren't supposed to work for at least a year. They couldn't even help me mow the grass, even though I was paying their boys to do it. Okay. because they weren't allowed to work. Yeah. Anyway. Destination regions and Syrian refugee in BC. What are we looking at? I see colors, but I don't. Oh yeah, down here. Rest of BC, Vancouver Island, Gulf Islands. Those are in little islands up in the bush. Aren't they lucky? Lower mainland. It's almost like a paradise. Where's the spot for that? What color is that? Is it this one? Maybe? Lower mainland. About 75% is on the lower mainland. Most sponsored refugees outside Metro Van. Either or, there wasn't 10,000 of them that showed up right off the hop. I don't know how many there is now, but this was written in 2016, and they're still bringing them in. So while the most of the Syrian refugees in the lower mainland are government assisted, roughly 78% on Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands. You know how expensive it is to live out there? That's like being in Victoria in the good old days. Before, I don't know. Everybody decided to move to Victoria and buy up all the property. And now it's a rat race. Yeah, it's not like it used to be. But I grew up on the island. But this is further up on the island. In the rest of the province, only about a quarter are government assisted. Anyway, okay, Surrey, here we go. Here we go. Just what I was ready to click out, but poof, there it is. Surrey most common spot. Well, yeah, because they were talking about it in the Parliament building because I was listening to them. Uncle John was here with me, too. And they said they were going to bring 10,000 of them in. Maybe it was just 10,000 immigrants that they were going to flood Surrey with. Either or. We're getting to the bottom of it. Of the more than 1,800 refugees, government-assisted refugees, who came to the lower mainland in the past year, right? And this was written in December, so throughout 2016, so this is not including what came in on 2015, I would think, but besides that point, nearly half made Surrey their city of initial settlement. 899 government-assisted refugees, according to the Immigrant Services Society of BC. Now, here's the issue I have with this, people, because not everybody that comes from this group, to whom I'm sure is a much larger group now, I already lost the numbers in here, but that, 1,800 people living in Surrey somewhere? Right? Yeah, right here. Okay. In the past year, nearly half made. So it'd be half of that. So yeah, 900, I read it right here. This was in the year of 2016. 899 or something like that. My eyes are bouncing around all over the place. You don't even know. Yeah, right here, 899. So by the end of 2016, Surrey absorbed, we'll just round it off at 900 Syrian refugees, government assisted, right? Government assisted with those, supplements, provincial, right? Federal. And then there's municipal kickbacks in there because the province gives the city money to help house them and set up programs in their rec centers so that they get, the ability to communicate with somebody in their own language to navigate through the services that are provided in a community they're unfamiliar with. Okay, not everybody out of that total number from 2016 is living in a nice house like next door with a nice green grass, a grapevine, and on the outside appears to be wholesome. And yeah, they got housing security for a little while. But we know the house next door is going to be torn down just as fast as this was going to be torn down when that time comes. Right next to the one next to me as well. What I'm trying to say is, a lot of those people compound with other Syrians moving in year after year after year after year, even if they're just trickling in. By the time you get to 2024, there are more than 899 Syrian refugees living in Surrey. Are we at 10,000 yet? Or have we surpassed it? Because you're looking at quite a few years for them to continue to keep moving into the district. So that means a lot of these individuals are living up at Gateway Place and maybe places like that where all those 400 apartment blocks are going to be tore down. Yeah. So these refugees that are living in those kind of places, they're going to be facing what I'm facing. It's just some of us get there faster than others. Where some of them will more than likely be able to tap into home ownership grants as the settlement, because they're resettling them. They resettle them. They have a word for it. Right? So they're going to, help them to buy some form of housing like they did with the Punjabis when the Punjabis started to immigrate into Canada. Right? There's going to come a time there won't be enough Syrians owning houses where it might look like there's some sort of institutional racism thing going on there. So of course the government's going to prop it up and help them to get housing because that's what they did with the Punjabis. Because when the Punjabis got here and settled in, they didn't want to buy, well, it's not that they didn't want to buy houses, they couldn't, right? They were afraid to. Just, they had a lot of issues with institutional racism and all that crap. So the government, it stepped in and it made it where, that, it helped, the government helped the people to buy houses. So that's how a lot of them started off with their wealth, people. They didn't do it by themselves. Or they bring it with them when they move over, an immigrant to Canada, depending on when they immigrated to Canada and at what age. So, you have to keep that in mind. Like when I went to this city council, right? With, I'm pretty sure the building was called Elizabeth Manor. And all those people were out in the courtyard. You know, it just did. It brought me back to Gateway Place. With those families that lived in that complex. And for a municipality to sabotage lives without any remorse or accountability, it's like a travesty. Like it doesn't even seem real, right? But realistically, a lot of these people that I'm sitting here talking about will be evicted from their apartments. So maybe that's why Trudeau is bringing in his program, because he knows it's just a matter of time before they're going to be evicted from their apartments. So he better have a backup plan and offer them, here, don't worry, you can purchase this from this building over here. It's a 6-story building with the playground on top. This is the amenities that you get, right? This is what it costs. This is how we're going to help you. You sign up, right? And then boom, they become a homeowner and they're housed. What is the quality of housing? Well, it's not any place I'd want to live, right? Is it fair to the taxpayers that they should have to prop up that system in order to house these people as they're being evicted from apartments to build more housing so the government can bring in a different class of people, the Cambodians, and then set them up in a building over there with the same kind of scheme? Because that's all it is a scheme. Just another means to launder money. And are these people wanting to sign up en masse into these buildings and lock themselves into, I don't know. These are smaller than apartments than what they're building. At least apartments, they have a bit more space. These things that they're building nowadays, they're not big. Right? And the materials that they use are inferior. They don't use copper pipes. They use plastic pipes with clips. And how do you think I almost got electrocuted when I was at that fourplex? Because of plastic pipes and clips. Yeah. Right? And yeah, they're bigger. And they're built with real plywood, not Presto wood covered over with tar paper to keep the moisture out, because once that wood gets moist, that's it. There's no saving it. It will swell and it will never go back. Whereas with a piece of plywood, even if it gets wet and swells a bit, it will shrink. Right? And it actually helps to preserve the wood, where it becomes weather-worn and a little more hardier to the elements. So really, if you want to think about it, weather-worn wood is actually quite valuable under the right circumstances. Because I would choose weather-worn wood, a piece of weather-worn plywood, any day over frickin' Presto wood. And the buildings that they're making now are made with Presto wood. Well, the buildings that they're tearing down have copper pipes and real plywood for walls. And just as fast as the people move in and settle in, the bugs will be back. And once they get into the walls, that's it. Good luck getting rid of them. Anyway, I gotta just exit out of this crap. Focus on refugees. Well, I'm not focusing on refugees. I just wanted to fully understand. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm gonna download this one just because I have to look at refugees, all the different types of people coming to BC. Right? With the various ethnic groups. With the numbers. To the best of my ability, because that's my competition. That's what's running me out of my country. That's what's getting my children murdered. That's what's getting my family being targeted right now. So I need to understand my enemy. The only thing is I don't see them as enemies because many of them will be evicted from their apartments after the city is done doing whatever it is it's going to do to them. And we can't depend on Trudeau to come in and save the day with a Ponzi scheme to buy, I don't know what you call those things realistically, because they're not luxury condos. Talk about locking your tenant up inside the house. Oh my God. Hell, if they can lock you inside of a house like this, do you know how easy it would be to lock up somebody in a freaking building like that old folks home there? Well, 55 and over, they're not that old, right? But that 55 and over building that sits 3/4 empty, that one. Fill it up and make everybody stay inside. Can't go outside, nothing, no. You're not allowed to have anything, no. Stay inside your house, pay your rent, shut up, don't complain. Yeah. Because it's like, where are they going to go? On the roof? Right? Get some fresh air on the roof? Yeah, okay.